professionals and councillors are attending a rally to restore confidence in the construction industry. Joining me is Phil Laycock, a national president of the Forum for the Built Environment, who've organised it. Phil, good morning to you.
Good morning.
So, what are you talking about today?
We're talking about today improving the visibility of the developments that are taking place within Cambridge and the county of Cambridgeshire, so that the supply chain and those involved in the construction industry have got more confidence in their ability to function profitably over the next few years.
You talk about the appearance of the developments, and as I mentioned in the queue, apartment blocks are being built in Cambridge for the first time, tall apartment blocks, and I'm going to make the point, you come into Cambridge on Trumpington Road and some of the development there is hideous.
Yeah, yes, I wouldn't disagree with that. I think just on that point, I would agree that there is a need for greater housing. I think the new development, the developments that are coming up today are more focused on the green space, the communal space. There's more of a community feel to the new developments, which is why I think there's a move towards the terraced as opposed to the high-rise. I think that's critical in new housing development, certainly. Now,
I mentioned that you're the national president of the Forum, and I imagine that there are parts of the country where building does need a boost, where building does need a shot in the arm. There may be people listening to this today who think we certainly don't need it here in Cambridgeshire, but presumably you're looking at the wider picture.
Yeah, we're running 9 of these events across all the major cities within the UK, and you're right, some of them are lacking more confidence than others. And certain areas such as the North East, Newcastle and Yorkshire for instance, it's far more depressed and they are lacking a lot more confidence there than Cambridge is, for instance.
I think most people have to agree that there is a requirement for more housing to be developed, and they don't necessarily want it where they live, but looking at the broad, and I think we're all as guilty as each other, but looking at the broader picture, we all think that there is a need. But quality is the thing. I mean, when these developments, and I refer to them again, were first mooted here on the outskirts of Cambridge, well, there was parkland and trees and all these wonderful artistic impressions of what it's going to be like. The reality isn't like that.
No, the development has to be fit for purpose. I think the modern developments are far more in tune with the plan for the city and the county of Cambridgeshire. What we were talking about today was the need perhaps to look beyond 5 miles of the city limits and look at the county and look at the ability for people to still be able to commute into Cambridge and work within Cambridge, but not necessarily having to put all the new developments close to the city centre.
The County Council are attending this meeting this morning and they are talking of becoming developers themselves. Is that a good idea for councillors, amateurs maybe, to get involved?
I think it's important that they get involved, and some of the other success stories as far as the council interacting with the built environment economy within those towns. Manchester's a good example. London is very cohesive. I think it's a great idea that Cambridge are engaging more with the county council. Now, in terms of them acting as developers, I think they've obviously got a say in some of the key funding issues and how the money is spent. But I think you know, certainly having heard the county council's view today on the developments taking place within Cambridgeshire, then I think their views are pretty much in tune with most of what's going on in the county.
Now, is the way forward going to be the spread of cities such as Cambridge, but not exclusively? Peterborough, it's happening there as well. So the developments just being tagged on them, or is Cambourne, Northstowe, is that the way forward? Do we need more Northstows, for instance, in our county? Because there'll be areas of the county now where people are listening thinking, no, we don't want it to be us next.
It's a very good question. It's a huge political hot potato, really. I don't live very far from Cambourne and contemplated buying a house in Cambourne myself 5-6 years ago, and as a development it's starting to reach maturity, but I think there were teething problems and lots of bad press with regards to Cambourne, for example, when it was in its early stages of development.
Is the success of the sort of thing that you are talking about today ultimately dependent on the economy recovering?
Yes, it is linked in with that. The construction industry per se is very good at talking itself down. And as the rest of the economy starts to recover, slowly, but starting to recover, the construction industry, which has historically been first into the recession and last out of the recession, needs to start to look ahead, start to accept the market conditions the way they are, rather than reflecting on how good it was back in 2007, and start to pick itself up and start looking forward. It's still a multi-billion-pound industry with lots happening. I think we've just got to accept that things have calmed down a little bit since the heady days of 2008, and we need to be more realistic about things going forward. And the rally was just serving to remind people of actually how much good stuff is going on within the construction industry.
It's been really good to talk to you, Phil. Thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
That was Phil Laycock. Phil is national president of the Forum for the Built Environment, but happens to live in our county as well, which is good. And maybe we'll talk to him in a little bit more depth at some later date. It's 16 minutes past 10. You're listening to the Andy Harper Show on BBC.